I'm Nick Amon with the Watertown Police Department and the City of Watertown's Public Information Officer. Today, it'll be myself and Mayor Sarah Karen speaking to you, and it shouldn't take too long today. I'm happy to report that our calls for service numbers, we are not seeing any increase in any mental health calls or domestics, and that our numbers are about a 15 to 20% decrease in our calls for service. So we appreciate that with our community staying safe and staying healthy, and our fire department is also seeing a decrease about 8% in their call volume. Our South Dakota numbers as it relates to the COVID cases, we have 58 positive COVID-19 cases and over 2,300 negative cases. And if you check the COVID South Dakota page and the Department of Health page, you can see those updated numbers, and they are updated daily around the lunch hour. There are about 20 pending cases, and those should be cleared up by Monday. We'll now hear from Mayor Sarah Karen.
Thank you, Nick. I'm happy to say there's nothing new to report. I would like to take this time to reiterate that the CDC guidelines are effective if carefully followed. That means stay home if you're sick, except of course to get medical care. Exercise good hygiene by washing your hands often and avoid touching your face. Practice good housekeeping by cleaning and disinfecting frequently touched objects and surfaces such as workstations, keyboards, telephones, handrails, and doorknobs. Use social distance by staying 6 feet or more away from other people and avoiding crowds. We all need to do our part. Most people already are, but if you weren't, it's not too late to start. We all need to change our ways. We will get through this together. Know that you have a dedicated team working to keep our community healthy. Have a great weekend, and I'll be back on Monday. Thank you.
We can take some questions.
Mayor, if I could ask, since the business closings of the non-essential businesses that were part of the emergency ordinance, since those businesses closed yesterday, have you had any additional reaction from business owners questioning whether or not they need to close, or a business saying, I'm closed, but a similar business that should be isn't? Is the confusion been cleared up?
I think most of the confusion is gone. We did not shut down all non-essential businesses. There might be some lingering confusion about that, but we closed down certain specific businesses which were listed in the ordinance, and some of those businesses were upset by that order, and rightly so. I understand. This is really a challenge to our community, and we don't take that lightly. I haven't heard any of the I'm closed, but they're not closed. I have had some confusion from the general public who aren't business people going, why is that business open? Didn't you close everyone down? And no, we did not close everyone down. We closed down specific recreation and entertainment businesses which exist for the purpose of drawing a crowd together. So that's your restaurants and your bars and your movie theaters, that sort of thing. But we didn't close everyone down. It's specific businesses.
Mayor, on that line of questioning, I guess there's citizens in the community of Watertown as well as business owners that are probably wondering at what point is the city going to make a determination on when to reopen those businesses. Can you tell us when that decision is going to be made? I know it's an open-ended question. I understand that, but how will you make that decision, and when? Any idea?
Okay, so we are expecting to see an increase in cases, and in our county there's been one, and that's been stable. At some point we will see increasing numbers, and those numbers might rise sharply and then reach a peak and then start to decline. So we would keep this order in effect until we see the decline, and making sure that our healthcare providers are under, they're in control of the situation. and we don't want to have a second surge. If we do it too soon, we'll just open it back up for a second surge. So right now, everything's under control. The healthcare facilities are not overtaxed. They've got plenty of capacity. We're just waiting for what we expect to happen sometime in the future.
Does this pandemic, Mayor, put any talk of an ice arena on hold for the time being, do you think?
It does put it on hold for a little bit. The future is so uncertain, but we're going to continue to talk. We're not just putting it out of the question. We still want to build an ice arena, but to take any steps right now would be irresponsible.
I have a question for PIO Nick Amon. Sergeant Amon, you mentioned a 20% reduction in call volume for the police department since this event started. I'm curious about what types of calls you're seeing, and how is the public adjusting to, as I understand it, the police department's taking more calls over the telephone instead of in person. Can you explain that?
Right. We are following guidelines from our national advisors also. And so some of those are, if we can take a report over the phone, we're doing so. We are limiting our contact with the public to protect our first responders and also to protect any spread of the COVID-19. And so any chance that we have to, in order to take a call for service and we can do it by phone or to not have face-to-face contact, we are doing so. We're seeing a reduction in our crashes because the community is listening to social distancing. People aren't driving around, so there's going to be less crashes. We're seeing less calls for service as far as any uptown calls because those businesses are closed. So it's a good thing, and our community is listening to the direction of social distancing and having no unwanted contact with each other, and it's really showing in our numbers, and we're thankful.
I know in an event like this where people they're confined to their homes, or not really confined, but they're at home a lot more, you start to deal with a few more mental health issues. Are you seeing those in your call volume as well?
We are not. Those numbers are remaining consistent, and we do have those services are available. HSA is still available for their teleconferencing, and so I believe that those mental health appointments are still being made. It's just in a different way. So we're all adjusting, but people are doing a great job, and we're thankful.
If we could get the mayor back up. Mayor Karen, I know one of the industries during this pandemic that's taking a huge hit is the airline industry. Have you had a chance to talk to our airport manager? I talked to Todd about a week ago, and at that time he said that business was down, which he thought would happen. But at that time he said all the flights are still coming and going as they should. Do you have any update on what's happening at the airport?
Sure. We are continuing to provide air service, but the passenger numbers are down, and all of the airlines are in a very critical situation, including SkyWest doing business as United. So we've been having conversations with them and how to respond to that, and how can we help the airline to stay in the black. And this is very difficult for all of the airlines. So we are still providing airline service if people want to fly.
The city of Watertown got a really big federal grant late last year. Was it $9 million for the construction of a new airport terminal? And obviously the federal budget's taking a huge hit because of this and the stimulus package that was passed this week. Are you still confident that the feds will uphold their end of the bargain and keep that grant money that they promised you? Or given everything that's going on, can they pull that money back?
Well, that's kind of an obvious question. What about those deals? And we are asking the question, and so far there's no indication that we won't get the grant for the airport terminal. We still expect to do that, and so we're still moving forward with it. But we have been asking the question, and the DOT and the FAA are very aware of the situation we could be in if we overextend ourselves with anticipation of receiving that grant. And it is a different fund. I mean, it isn't just one big pot. I talk about this all the time with the city funds. People think there's just one big pot, And when you deplete it, everything's gone. Well, we can still have pots that are full even when we're really depleting another fund. And so that's a safety mechanism that we have and the federal government has as well. And so we've been told that those funds are not in jeopardy at this time.
What are you hearing from our state representatives or from the government or from the governor's office in terms of federal funding down to the local jurisdictions? Are you hearing anything?
Yes, that I'm hearing some positive things, that there will be money for communities, including our community. And so we're tracking the time that we're spending, and we're being very careful to be able to associate our expenses with this COVID situation in case the aid is made available. So far, nothing is available to us, but we know that's coming.
I asked you about the ice arena, Mayor, just a little bit ago. There are some other projects that are, I guess, kind of in the hopper right now, including the development of a downtown park. Mm-hmm. Is that still a go? I guess I'm just trying to get a sense of given the situation we're in and the tight finances that every municipality is going to be facing. Is it too early to say this project is still in? This one we're going to have to kick down the road for a while?
I would say those are good questions, and it is too early to say, but we are looking at that, and those projects that you've mentioned are not on the chopping block at this time, but I would say we're going to look at every single fund and every single project and make sure that we are doing the best possible management of our community's funds.
One other question about the Prairie Lakes Wellness Center now being closed. That's obviously lost revenue for the city when you're not open. If you're a member there, are you just not paying dues? Are you getting refunded money you've paid? How does that work?
That's a conversation that the Park Recreation and Forestry Board will be having, and then the City Council is how we just push it forward, or what are we going to do about that? But we're mindful of it. People are wondering what's going to happen, and we haven't made a decision yet. But we are seeing a loss of revenue, obviously, if people aren't keeping their memberships active. But we're also having a considerable decrease in the cost of running that facility as well. So it's not all bad.
Mm-hmm. I know you mentioned in regard to the business closings a couple of days ago, you said that the Class 1 mayors in South Dakota were on a conference call and there was disagreement over whether or not to stay open or close, and the governor has kind of left that to be a local control decision. Since other cities like Sioux Falls, Brookings, Huron, a lot of the cities have done what Watertown has done. Have you had any conversation with those mayors since then as to whether you feel good about that decision, or like in Cottington County's case, we're stuck on one case. People might say, gosh, we've shut down all these businesses and the virus number hasn't changed at all. Are you still confident that that was the right call to make?
I am confident that that was the right call to make. We don't have a problem yet. I mean, we don't have big numbers, so you wouldn't see a decrease. We've only had one case in our county, but the cases are growing all around us and not very far away from us. So we do feel like we've done this proactively, and that we will be in the best possible situation to keep those numbers from spiking quickly. And that's why we did it. And the governor made it very clear she was not planning to do it because she felt she did not have the power to do that. And so that was our clue that we need to do it on our own and not rely on the state to take care of that. And she's still maintaining that position. So I'm glad that we went ahead and we were proactive. We may have had cases now. Who knows? It's difficult to say, but our community has just been so compliant. I'm proud. I know it's not this way everywhere, and we are pretty much in general compliant with the CDC guidelines everywhere you go. There's very little pushback on that. People are distancing themselves from others, and they're taking precautions. They're doing the recommended practices, and that's why we're seeing the numbers the way we are, I believe. So we will see increases, but hopefully they'll be considerably less than if we had not taken any action.
Mayor, flood planning and monitoring, sandbag sites, can you expound on anything as far as flood planning is concerned?
Yes, we are watching the flood situation as well. We actually have 2 different incident command teams going right now. We have the COVID team and we have the flood team. And we aren't out of the woods when it comes to flooding. In fact, they're actually expecting flooding to the south of us. Luckily, the storm that we're getting this weekend is mostly going to be south of us, so we don't expect to be impacted, but we're watching very carefully, and we will be taking action when the time comes. We have action levels, and we're getting close to them, so we'll be monitoring that.
Where are the sandbag sites going to be if they're needed?
Sailboat Landing is the primary site, and there's sand there, I believe. And we have several other sites that we will add if we need to, and they're all basically public areas that are outside of the flood area.
Do you have a number, Mayor, or a percentage of the number of city employees who are working from home right now, and their ability to work from home, is that open-ended, that you'll allow that till further notice?
Yes, I have allowed all city employees that are able to work from home, and there are a lot of jobs you just can't do from home. You cannot be a police officer from home. So our public safety, public works jobs, pretty well, you have to do those on the job, but you can do them in compliance with the CDC guidelines. Office jobs where people are grouped together and have the public in and out, the first thing we did was close the doors so that we didn't have the public interaction. And then quite a few employees who work in office settings have chosen to work from home. And I don't have a percent on that, but I would guess maybe 10%.
Thank you. I just want to remind everybody that we are still looking for volunteers. Again, that website's volunteer211.com. So if you are able to and you are healthy, please sign up if you can add to that. Again, there was a great support and a big group, Watertown Community Cares, that gave out 500 boxes of food up at the Boys and Girls Club yesterday, and I believe that's going to be a weekly endeavor for them, and so stay tuned to our Facebook page. And I just want to remind that you guys can rest assured that we are united as a community in this fight against COVID, and I want you guys to stay safe, stay healthy, and have a good weekend. Thank you.